So I thought, while we're here, and you've been with here, you know, in Bali for a month, I thought, out of all the conversations we've had, you know, just chatting with each other, I thought an interesting one for us to chat about would be cultivation, just as a wider concept.
More general?
Yeah, you know, like you're known as a Tai Chi teacher more than anything else,
Yeah.
I would guess. Although people know you do meditation as well. I think primarily you're known in the Tai Chi world, aren't you? I think myself more in the Qigong world than anything else. And those two practices can be standalone arts that people do just for the sake of doing them.
Yeah, in
obviously.
and of themselves, sure.
Yeah. But there's a whole other side to it, isn't it? That some people use those practices, I would say myself and you included in that it's a tool for something different.
Well, that makes it worth it in the long run, I'd say.
Yeah, okay, why? Tell us about that.
Well, if something's just in and of itself, it might be fun and entertaining, then you die.
That's true.
It just
kind of
goes nowhere ultimately, right?
So is that how you view the sort of the meaning of cultivation then, be something that is bigger than your life or bigger than your death?
Yeah, I think cultivation means to cultivate towards and to embody the divine.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is the, these are loaded questions because I already know your answer, and I guess I know my view on it as well. But why is connection to the divine bigger than life or bigger than death in your book?
I'd say it's the source of both.
Okay.
So if it's the source of both, it has to be, well, maybe, I guess bigger is one way to phrase it. I just think it's the purpose of existence.
Mm. So do you think these arts, this is the age-old question, isn't it? And I think it's probably, this conflict that goes on, or whether Tai Chi is a cultivation thing or I don't even want to say martial art, because I don't even have the same definition of martial art as other people, because martial arts to me means a form of cultivation. Mm-hmm. Whereas I guess when other people hear martial art, they just hear martial. Combat, yeah, that's what they hear. So using that definition, do you think that arts like, I guess some of them were developed for combat, weren't they? But arts like Tai Chi, were they developed for combat primarily, in your opinion?
Well, if the great immortal, the most highly achieved person in Chinese history, let's say,
yes,
created it and it's his masterpiece, I'd say no. It's
even
not.
Chan Sung Fong?
Yeah, okay. Of course it's not just for punching and kicking. I mean, that's what he wanted to give to the world after being a supreme immortal. I don't think so.
It does seem strange to me often that these sort of grand masters, which even if you look at the stereotype of a grand master, sort of everything from kung fu movies, which I know is not the greatest source for accuracy, but still based on something, right?
All the myths come from reality.
Completely, you know, and all of the stories and what, even when you're young, you know, and I associated the idea of a grand master. That stereotype didn't strike me as someone that would get to their deathbed and then write a book on how to, you know, like how to kill or leave something behind on combat, right?
Of course, because it's one of the lowest aspects of humanity, right?
Yeah. I would argue that someone shouldn't say it. I argue someone who shouldn't really be considered a master if they're still obsessed with that side of the training, no matter how good they are at it.
I'd agree totally. I mean, to me, a master is someone that's mastered themselves. And then if you're still driven by such lower forces, then obviously you haven't, right? It's normal when you're young and you're full of testosterone and you're amped up to want to punch on and stuff. It's natural and normal, and that's what you do when you're growing up. And maybe you find a way to do that that's, you know, from an old tradition.
Yes.
But you move on if you're normal and you grow up, and if there's any spiritual inclination or draw within, then it's going to pull you away from that kind of thing naturally.
If it's based on testosterone, it makes me laugh, because it makes me wonder if the people that still get caught up in that kind of side of it are either adding more testosterone in their system, might be one way from a sort of chemical perspective, or maybe there's almost like a, you know, when something's taken away from you. How do you describe that? Yeah. Not a rebellion, like what do you call it?
It's like an insecurity. There's a deficiency, so they're making up for it.
An existential insecurity, isn't it? It's like, I've lost my testosterone, I must testosterone.
Act extremely macho.
Shout louder.
Yeah, I'd say it's that one.
If so, that's a really silly reason. I guess somebody could live in a violent area, so it's possible for them to become obsessed on that
Guns.
level. Guns. Or the most spiritual thing you can possibly do, move.
Yeah, I mean, I always laugh. Why don't you move?
Yeah, I know.
Usually when people complain, I have one word to say: move.
Sometimes the most obvious solution gets overlooked, I think.
Yeah. And people say I can't move. It's not true. I moved when I was absolutely broke. I'm sure you did too.
Yep.
You can. It's only because there's other attachments and other things that people prioritize. That's why they don't move. That's it.
Yeah, sure.
If you want to change, you change.
I understand. If you've had kids young or something like that, I get it.
Move with the kids.
Move, yeah, totally. That's the other option, isn't it? But yeah, it's tricky, I guess, for a lot of people. But
Life gets in the way. I mean, it's not fair to say it's always easy. Life gets in the way. But if you're in a violent area, normally you can move.
Well, that kind of brings us back to cultivation, isn't it? Isn't it that life gets in the way is kind of one of the points of cultivation? It's like life
definitely gets in the way of cultivation, and if you cultivate correctly, you can make life like the poison become the medicine. It doesn't have to always be in the way.
Well, as you know, you've been here a month and you've seen some ups and downs in my life over this last month. And
that's how it goes.
That's the nature of it. But it's
if you cultivate properly, it won't mess you around, though, will it?
No. You
get freedom from it. At least I'd say that's a basic level, not a high achievement. Like one of the early fruits of cultivation is that you're just cool about the ups and downs of life.
Isn't it the worldly expression of calm abiding, essentially?
In a way? Like the macro version of it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think with Tai Chi, this is my theory that I don't know if you agree or not as well. I always think Tai Chi is like if you are talking about combat, I think Tai Chi is a terrible art to begin with. And when I've given that view, people haven't generally liked it very much because they like what they do to be very complete.
It's true, though. I mean, even the Yang family kids did external training when they were young.
Yeah. I mean, starting with single whip, diagonal flying, roll back, or even standing postures or swing arms or whatever you're doing, or push hands. It's not a good start point. It almost feels to me like the assumption is you can already punch and kick.
Yeah, you have to be able to, strike and move and hurt and get hurt, basically.
Yeah.
That's the most basic fundamental.
Yeah.
And it takes time. You got to spend some years doing that for sure.
And that's what I always thought about Tai Chi, was it feels like an art that somebody would have created if they'd already been in martial arts for a long time. Like if you'd fought from a kid and you'd already boxed and wrestled and grappled and probably picked up injuries, and then also, as you say, your testosterone went down, and then maybe found something inside yourself. Hang on, that's different, and that set you off on a slightly more internal or spiritual path. Like the fruits of the labor of somebody who'd done that process almost feels like Tai Chi. Like it's what somebody would create if they hit a really high level in their practice.
Yeah, well, I think it's somebody that had a really high level of martial arts and inner work, right?
Yeah.
But the more practical level for everyone else, if you have fear, you can't do Tai Chi. You can't apply Tai Chi.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
Yep, sure.
So if you're not used to punching and kicking and getting punched and kicked and hurting and getting hurt, you're going to have fear for most people.
Yes.
So even if the practicality of punching and kicking and moving is not needed, at least getting past fear is needed. Yeah. At least that. Right.
It puts it in an interesting place as well, because then the counter argument for something like Tai Chi was, could somebody use it for cultivation if they hadn't, if say, I don't want to use it for combat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to use it for any violence, no interest in getting in a ring or fighting someone. Mm-hmm. I only want to use it for cultivation.
Mm-hmm. Can you?
Well, can you overcome fear using it as a tool?
Not without some martial experimentation, I don't think. But do it. I don't think that means you have to have, really scrapped a lot when you were younger or anything. But you need to work with forces.
There's a degree of discomfort must be present in the training.
Yeah, and externally applied.
Yeah.
Stress has to come.
Yeah, which some people can transmute sort of the stress from standing practices and things into that kind of thing as well.
That's part of it, but it's not the same as a variable force from the outside.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it needs to be a huge amount. I don't think people need to have death matches or anything, but because, when you push hands, even the lightest force, people already react with fight or flight, right?
Yes.
It's not really about amount. It's built into the nervous system. So I think if you can undo that process, that reaction of responding like that.
The inbuilt touch phobia.
Yeah, I think that's really it.
Yeah, sure. That's
I mean,
my quality I had to overcome.
all martial application is touch.
Yeah.
That's what it is, right? So
I've personally never been someone that's needed every class I go to be hugely practical
no,
in a literal sense.
not
Not
as
at all.
soon as.
Completely.
Yeah.
You know, one of my earlier people that I met, Shen Hung Sun, that I was definitely quite divorced from physical practicality in many ways, but incredible practice.
Yeah.
Very incredible art.
Yeah, and sort of way beyond that level.
Yes. Too far for me to understand,
Sure.
actually, when I encountered
Right
it.
person at the right time and all that. It's
Yeah.
If the gap's too big, you miss it a lot.
There was a couple of teachers like that I remember being with, and I just remember just feeling almost like a pain in my brain. Like, this is too early for me, but I also understand that sometimes if you find an amazing teacher, you need to train with them as much as you can.
No, you have to, because there's not many in the world.
And also they tend to disappear.
Right.
Not just death, but they just, the
Move.
thing with
They move.
genius, yeah, they move. Yeah, totally. It's always like, they're like fickle geniuses in a way, aren't they? Like all of a sudden, they'll just change their mind or change their life, or, oh, I'm going into retreat for 10 years now, or...
Yeah, the winds of destiny change, and they change with it.
Yeah. So there were some teachers I was with when I was younger that was too early for me to understand. But now when I look back on their material, I get it. You know, I get it. And part of me wishes I could kind of retrain with them now.
Sure.
Now I have the knowledge I have. But I guess it's all still useful in a way. You just have to plumb the depths of your memory, really.
Yeah, I mean, all the sort of, you know, we are created by our life experience, and they all are part of what made you who you are and drove you forward and stuff like that.
Their fault. Yeah, completely.
It's all them. I blame them for the mojito.
I should shift the blame. I tried for a coconut. I did try for something healthy, but it didn't work. Never mind. Oh well. So why did you...
Why Tai Chi, you mean? Or?
No, before that, martial arts, right? Like, was cultivation a part of what you wanted at the beginning?
Oh, yeah. It was, for me, it was, so I didn't go to prison. That's it.
Right, okay.
It was, I need to straighten up right now.
Also, when you're in prison, you're better at looking after yourself.
Yeah, it was entirely wrong motivation in a way. I guess that's kind of right motivation.
Yeah,
from coming in the wrong place is what I mean.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Because everything was bad, I needed to straighten out. Okay, this is hardcore. This will straighten me out. I'll do that.
Yes.
Was I concerned with the fighting part? No.
Okay.
I could fight anyway. You know, the ability to do violence is sort of separate to what you learn.
I think it's even often either in you or not.
That's what I mean. It's innate. Right?
Yeah.
The spirit of it and all that.
Yeah.
So I never cared about that kind of thing, about learning something technical. But as soon as I started, I totally loved it. Day one. Obsessed from day one.
Okay, yeah.
And yeah, so that was that. Just drew me in, and immediately the cultivation side took over.
In what way? Like what?
Well, the fantasy of it.
Right, okay.
The Shaolin monks, the meditation, this immediately took over and like sucked me in completely. So I was straight into all day, every day, trying to do meditation, training Kung Fu, just suffering through it, you know.
Yes.
To me, at that stage, the idea was just to cultivate a sort of unbreakable drive and spirit and endurance and that kind of thing.
Sure, yeah. Okay.
The hard Kung Fu man sort of thing, yeah.
Which are all very attractive traits when you're younger, aren't they?
It was for me, definitely.
I think it is for everybody. I think I can't speak for women. I can only speak for males, having only been a male. Like I don't have the direct experience, but I think that almost all males have a yearning to be strong and indomitable and tough and capable on some level.
Well, they should.
I think they do.
Yeah.
I just think that because they don't. I think if you don't achieve it, I think that's often like a root of a lot of insecurities, or at least a dissatisfaction.
Because it really means function, to be functional man.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so that was sort of 0 to full speed for me. It was like that. There was no ramp up at all.
Yes.
And then that just went for a long time.
And then the videos of Huang Xinshan were the thing that...
I did Tai Chi from day one.
Oh, did you? I didn't know
But it
that.
was empty, nothing, just form.
Oh, sure. Okay.
My Sifu at the time said, do Tai Chi, it's like putting money in the bank for later. Okay, yes, Sifu.
It
Just do what they
wasn't
say.
Beijing 24,
It
was
was.
it? Was it?
Yeah.
I'd love to see you doing Beijing 24.
I can't even remember it. Yeah.
You need the silk outfit for that.
So that was the first form anyway.
Sure. Okay.
So yeah, it was like that. It was not Tai Chi.
Yeah, okay.
It was just slow moving.
It's a start.
Yeah.
It's a start.
And then the videos of Wang Ye.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. It's a little different for me because, if you know, my reason is, because my parents couldn't afford a babysitter, took me along to martial art classes and made me do it.
You were much younger too.
I was 4, yeah. So I did. There wasn't really any original aim, but I do remember being frightened all the time because everyone was really big and smelt bad. You know, when you're a kid and you're around sweaty adults and they even the smell terrified me.
I still am repulsed.
I'm immune to it after growing up around it. Yeah, yeah, you're more repulsed than me by stuff.
Yeah,
like
I'm
that.
funny about body fluids and stuff.
I think all the grappling I've done, plus the Negong and the Zufagong, I'm immune to body fluids.
That's why I can't be a grappler. Yeah.
It is kind of gross sometimes. Sometimes you have to pair up and you see people avoiding the
That's
one
right.
with
That's
body
how I
odor
learned how to
issues.
fire gin. Make them go as far as possible quickly.
Yeah, sure. Get them away. Yeah, so because I came from that, I think some of my earliest memories of martial arts, the sort of scene, I guess, was I guess while everybody else was really fascinated in Bruce Lee. I remember everyone being fascinated in Bruce Lee when I was younger. I didn't give a fuck about Bruce Lee, and I still can't. I really didn't care. I'm sure he's a remarkable human being, but he didn't inspire me at all. But while everybody else was fascinated by that, it was Musashi that fascinated me. The idea of a master duelist swordsman who killed everybody, right up to the extent of fighting with an oar and shit like that at the end, and then getting to his deathbed. Well, actually, the story goes, whether it's true or not, I'm sure you know, that a monk actually locked him in a library and wouldn't let him out for a period of time, according to the story, until he'd read all of the spiritual texts.
Cultivate or else.
The library. It was that kind of thing. I'm sure it's more myth than anything else. Maybe not. Who knows? Sometimes these things are that extreme. And then he came out and carried on. But of course, at the end of his life, he wrote the Book of Five Rings, which was the first book that I ever read, which was an analogy of life and death combat into spiritual cultivation to be a complete person.
Right.
And I think that was the first time I was inspired, actually, by martial arts. It went from something I was forced to do to, okay, there's something else here.
So it was the cultivation.
The cultivation, completely, yeah. The desire to defend myself or hurt people wasn't ever really particularly relevant. And I can't say I've ever been inspired once by winning a medal.
No.
Have you?
No.
No. Would you not like a medal?
No.
No.
Only if I can melt it down and turn it into jewelry or something like that. But other than that, no.
No, not at all. I did enter some competitions when I was younger. I had to enter karate competitions, which were full contact was the rule, but not to the head. They generally excluded the head because they didn't
typical
wear
karate rules.
I didn't wear gloves or anything, and I got disqualified a couple of times for striking the head. But generally, they were good in some ways, but awful in others. I tell you, I didn't mind the actual doing it. What I didn't like was the crowd. I really hated the crowd. I hated people watching you, and it wasn't from any shyness. It just felt like I don't know if I want to hit someone or be hit for your entertainment. It was more like an arsiness came up in me, like, fuck you, I'm not here to entertain you wankers.
My view on all that thing is it's like the idea of the prize fighter.
Like a cage fighter these days?
Well, yeah, I mean a boxer or a cage fighter, anyone. Traditionally, in my view, it's like I have nowhere to go, I've got no choices in life, I'm uneducated, I'm broke, I'll fight to make money.
Yes.
I think that's what it always was. Last choice stuff.
So why is it now exalted?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like it's seen as a high level or an admirable thing, almost like being a Hollywood star.
I don't know. I mean, admiring the skill is one thing, but it's not the right way in life. It's the last choice in life. You're sacrificing your health and your brain and everything, right? It should be the absolute last choice. No, I have no interest in it. I mean, there's always another choice.
There was a funny moment when I went to see one of the UFC championships when I was in Canada, America. I think I don't know, somewhere over there. I saw a couple, but one of them were the championships I went to see. No, probably in Vegas, I guess. And then I went there, and I'd already been before, but the ones I'd been before, I'm sure that's right, it was in Toronto. It was like a lower level one. And then I went to see with the championships, and I was really enjoying myself until about halfway through the night when I realized I'd become one of those wankers in the crowd that I did not want to fight in front of.
And then the shame kicked in, and then you didn't enjoy it.
I felt like I needed a really long cold shower and a good scrub afterwards just to get the sort of filth off of me of what I'd become, basically.
It's so not my scene. I've never been to anything like that. I mean,
I don't think you'd like it, actually.
I mean, you know me
Yeah.
well enough. I'd hate it. It's
Yeah.
too many people. It's too much weird emotion. I'd want to wash badly.
I'd enjoy taking you there just to
Yeah,
see
I'm sure
your
you would.
discomfort, actually.
Imagine it.
Entertains me, yeah. It was a weird vibe. Weird vibe.
Yeah, it's not my cup of tea.
No. I think the other problem I had as well was I came to realize, especially teenage years, was I went from a nervous child to a slightly psychotic teenager. There was, I guess puberty was a little,
Yeah.
there was a juxtaposition there. So the other thing I realized was when I was in violence outside of martial art classes,
It's not violence in a martial arts class.
it's said. Even it's said. But outside of that, when there's like uncertainties and I realized I actually really enjoyed it, and that was a problem that arose in me, and I was quite surprised. Almost had like a bloodlust in a way a few times, and it didn't matter if I was winning or losing. There was one time I remember just getting my ribs just basically kicked in around the back of a bar in my hometown, and I remember loving every second of it, just laughing my ass off as they were kicking me, which was confusing these guys. And I just realized that there's not a healthy psychology around this for me. There's something that's not good.
That's what made me focus on Tai Chi instead of Kung Fu, let's say.
Because you could get away from that feeling, or because you... Okay, right.
Because I also... I love it.
Sure.
Or at least I did.
Yes.
But I was also doing meditation and doing cultivation, and I felt deep shame.
Right.
And repulsed by myself.
Yeah. Okay. I can equate.
And I'm like, I'll just do Tai Chi, and that will fulfill that part of my nature in a way that's not vile.
Yeah.
And I quit the actual martial striking and stuff that day. I remember very vividly the moment it happened.
Like that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
I mean, I'd done plenty, but then it arose towards somebody that I wouldn't want it to arise towards at that time, and I was repulsed by the ugliness of the violence and everything. It just made me quit on the spot.
It's not good.
No,
Violence
it poisons you.
Yeah.
It's poison for the soul, so I just let it go.
I find it strange that there's such an obsession with it within. I know martial arts. There's going to be discussion of violence, but I do find it strange the almost worship of it in some ways.
Like it's the highest thing.
Yeah,
it's the lowest part of the art.
It's the equivalent of the sexual stuff being
exactly.
overly exalted in
the
something
dregs
like Qigong,
of the
right?
path.
Like the lowest of the low.
Yeah, that's it.
It's like everything is flipped again, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is. Yeah, it's the inversion, right? Like for the training, like the defense, self-defense, the martial part, I consider the lowest little percentage, and then health, and then cultivation, right?
Yeah.
And for me, it's 90% cultivation. Yep. And the 10% left over, 90% of that is health.
Yeah.
And then there's a little bit of, which there isn't even of self-defense. It's done. But that's how I would ratio it.
I think it's interesting that you always, like what I know about your background and things, there's been lots of parallels, I think, in our paths.
Very much.
Sometimes different phases, different eras or lengths of times on things, I think, but very similar. But I think one of the key differences I can see is you often came to your own conclusions.
Well, I'm the biggest loner, that's why.
Yeah, so you realized for yourself you were repulsed at something that was in yourself or whatever, and mine was the opposite. I had to have someone tell me, I'm a dumbass. So I was just stuck with these awful conflict inside about what I was doing, and then had to actually meet a teacher that, for me, I've always had to meet someone that I'm inspired by or trusted by to tell me what I think. And okay, yeah, you're right. And then
well, it's working for you.
Steered me away on that path. Yeah, but then you sort of look back and you're like, why couldn't I figure that out myself? What an idiot! I should have known that. But maybe that's who I am. Maybe sometimes I need almost clarification, I guess, or what's the word?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, it needs to be reinforced, or
yeah. But it has to. It's very few people who can do that. It has to be
it's
someone I'm really inspired by.
Yeah. I'm not easily inspired,
No.
so that's part of it, I guess.
No, me either these days. That's a problem, isn't it? The further you go into it, the more inspiring somebody has to be in order to...
It's dismal. It's a problem.
Yeah. So I think Tai Chi then, I think Tai Chi is generally the art everybody gets to, isn't it? When they're really interested in cultivation, Tai Chi is where they end up. Possibly Bagua, like
If you're a martial arts guy.
if you're a martial art guy and you're hunting through, you always end up in Tai Chi, don't you? Pretty
Basically.
much.
Or Bagua, like you say, but mainly Tai Chi.
Mainly Tai Chi, yeah. Most of the Tai Chi, most of the Bagua guys that I knew, I guess there's exceptions, the famous ones.
End up in Tai Chi.
End up in Tai Chi, yeah, they do. Or even their Bagua becomes very Tai Chi,
Yeah, right.
like it
That's right.
evolves in that direction. So there's something about Tai Chi that's, arguably more, I don't know, better for cultivation. I don't want to say better. It's hard to put them on a hierarchy of other arts.
More suitable.
Yeah, more suitable. Because Shaolin obviously has a long history of
they all
connection
do.
to cultivation, but I still think they end up in Tai Chi. Like even if you look at the kind of Rochuan and the soft fists and that, they kind of go in that way.
Yeah.
What do you think it is about Tai Chi?
I think it's...
Is it the outfits?
yes.
Oh, there we go.
I think it's the equanimity side of things. It's,
Okay.
I mean, it's obviously the chi development and all that,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's the equanimity. Yeah.
Equanimity, okay.
Meaning the freedom from fight and flight.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. The stillness and
The fact that it's trained in the body, a sort of somatic way into the mental quality or something.
It's a tangible handle of a mental quality, right? A testable version. And which is sort of fundamental for all spiritual paths.
Yep.
And it's a great way to get it, in my opinion, because you can test it.
Yeah. Well,
and train it directly.
Delusion is a big problem, right? Self-delusion.
Yeah.
Delusion's almost, it's a bit of a harsh word. I don't even mean delusion necessarily.
Misappropriating your experience.
Yeah. Overconfidence, underconfidence.
Yeah.
Those kind of things.
Yeah.
Which is definitely a case of meditation.
Mainly, more than anything. Because it's all on the mat, right? And who's going to tell you?
Yep. Yeah. And I've been in, I've been in classes where people will assume somebody is very good at meditation, and what they mean is they can sit still.
Yeah. Well, that's step
It's
one.
a good start. Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're doing meditation at all, let alone good at it.
No. I've met some of the best people I've met at meditation don't really ever sit.
Yeah, sure.
Because they've been through, they did.
Yeah.
They did, but they've been through that process, right?
Yeah.
So in Tai Chi then, like, that sort of consistent release of stress under pressure or something like that to mobilize everything inside, which is it's a lengthy bloody process. It's amazing how hardwired the nervous system is.
Well, I like to say your personality's bullshit, it lies, your mind lies, your nervous system doesn't lie.
Mm-hmm. Lies to you sometimes, yourself.
The nervous system?
I think it does sometimes.
How so?
I think it's very good at normalizing. I think the nervous system lies to you in a way that you can have a kind of inbuilt stress or pressure or something, and you normalize it to the extent that it's masked.
But you don't think the nervous system shows that stress?
I don't think it does until very, very late, when it turns into an illness or it turns into a chronic disease. Apart from when you have something like Tai Chi is what I mean. Like when
you put a force on the nervous system, shows you immediately.
Yes. Yeah, completely, yeah. So
it equalizes with things, that's the problem, right? So it equalizes with a problem, like you're saying, it becomes a disease. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe you only equalize the external forces too. That can happen too, right? You can get like a false version where you're not achieving any equanimity, you just become equalized to that kind of force.
Yes, completely, yeah.
So it would be like the near enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what I call
counterfeit.
The dishonesty of the nervous system.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like those, which actually, I shouldn't say those people you teach, because I've been that fucking person that you teach where you're like, you're sure you're relaxed, They say relax, and like, I'm pretty sure I'm relaxed, and then bang, like there's that tension that just
Well, that's what
up.
I mean. It's not lying. You're not relaxed. You think you are.
Sure. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
your mind interface with the nervous systems definitely lies.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But then when you're shown, it's like, okay, there's a lot of work.
The proof is right there. If you move, you won't release, right?
Yeah. And it's very rare to ever touch hands with someone who is, fully released is an odd word, but somewhere very far down that spectrum, isn't it?
Super.
Yeah.
I've touched so many people, and less than I can count on one hand, right, that are far along that spectrum. I mean, it's like 1% of something of the good people.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, without being inflammatory, I would say a lot of Tai Chi people are so unreleased in the nervous system that they don't even have to touch hands with you. They just have to watch one of your videos, and they're already it sets off all of their tension. It's like your sung has touched into their tension anyway.
Empty force.
Yeah,
through the internet.
That's mystical shit, man. Just, yeah. I mean, that's the other thing that surprised me is the more I did Tai Chi, maybe it is just my testosterone dropping as I get older. I don't know, but I like to think at least some of it was due to my training. That's it. It should transfer through to the mind, right? So that equanimity should arise in you.
If it doesn't, I don't know what they're doing. They're doing something radically different to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, there's many different ways.
Yeah.
But I don't know how it can't. Honestly. Maybe their mind's not saturated in the body. They're not engaging through the mind to the body. They're just doing body, so they miss the mind. I don't know.
Now, there's a really interesting thing, actually, to bring up. Like, kind of moves us in that direction of a conversation we had the other day, which I don't know if that was a private conversation, but it was sort of that mind-body connection idea, in that you would assume that the more this training it does and the more you saturate the mind through, the higher degree of mind-body connection you have, so that you're more aware and da-da-da. But then I think we both came to the conclusion that actually we're completely disconnected.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you get more in a certain way, but I certainly am not sensitive at all.
No.
And yeah, I mean, it just sort of, everything's irrelevant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the freedom from things, I think.
Yes, and then it's that thing, like somebody asked me, I was talking to the group about it, somebody asked me the other day, like, did you have a good weekend? And I went to say automatically yes, and I was like, I don't know what you mean. Like, do you mean the person regretted asking me, it's like, do you mean objectively a good weekend? Because actually a lot of really difficult things, really bad, a lot of really bad things happen this weekend. Do you mean emotionally? I had a really good weekend. Like, I don't know what
same as any other one, right?
Yeah, completely. Yeah. It was the same. Like, so
exactly that. That's what I'm talking about. Not sensitive to experience. You just let it go. You're indifferent to it. You're detached from it. That's because I think you saturate the mind into the body. You build connection. But what do you do with that connection?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Well, you release. That's one of the things you do. You swing, you let go, right?
Which in a way creates space.
Exactly, creates
it's like
space,
you're closing all the spaces and closing all the gaps to create space.
I think it definitely creates space.
Yeah,
definitely.
So it's like, my personal experience is you can experience the full spectrum of emotions, but another part of your mind doesn't really register them in a way. You have to kind of.
It's weird when people.
It's like recollection is different.
Yeah, you experience emotion, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it just happens.
Do you care?
You're still cool about it. I'm still happy even though I'm pissed off, or I'm still happy even when I'm sad, something like that.
Yeah.
You're still like, good, it's all good.
And I've seen that in you. I've seen that. I've known you long enough to see that even when things are difficult.
No, it doesn't matter.
No, you're still the same.
Yeah.
Like, it's all right.
Yeah.
I've seen a moderate, this is Adam annoyed. Oh, that's it, done.
Yeah.
And there was that, I can see it, and then it's gone, right?
Yeah. It's been like that for years, many years.
So the question I have, not just for you, I guess for myself, kind of pondering, is does that mean that it doesn't leave a mark anywhere? Because there's a part of me that's thinking, oh good, I've released all this connection to things, I'm good. And then I'm wondering if 20 years time I'm just going to, oh no, it's all been stored there. Do you know what I mean? Like some little locked away corner of the psyche or something. It
probably leaves a mark somewhere.
Yeah, maybe I don't want to delve and find it.
Yeah, I mean, the conditioned world happens how it happens, right?
Yes.
Like I'm sure it does something to the body.
I think sometimes injuries pop up from it.
Yeah.
Like my internal health is pretty robust. It's pretty good. I'm always okay. If I do get sick, I recover quick. Mm-hmm. But sometimes I just get these just terrible, like really bad injuries, like tendons will snap or something that I've and I do wonder if sometimes is that where the stress is going?
I don't know.
No, I don't know. I've got no idea.
But it makes sense to me that it has to go somewhere. It's conditioned. It's, cause and effect has to happen even if you're mentally free from it. It still has to happen on its own plane, right?
Yeah.
At least to some extent. I'd say it gets diluted a lot, but yes, something happens.
I think I'd still rather experience it there,
Oh, yeah.
than in my reactivity
Oh, yeah.
or my emotions.
Well,
Yeah.
let's say, okay, no matter how bad it gets, you're still happy, right?
Yeah.
I don't mean filled with joy. I'm not talking about that.
Sure.
I mean cool.
Yeah.
It's all cool. It's all good.
Just
At ease,
Yeah.
happy enough all the time, even if everything's really bad.
Yeah.
That's way better than the normal state of humanity. Everything's really good. You don't realize it's all good. 1% goes wrong and you're miserable, right? That's
yeah.
It's the exact opposite sort of state.
Yes. I'm glad. I do remember being very much in that state actually when I was
When
younger.
I was a teenager, I was that.
Yeah. Everything was the biggest problem.
Yeah.
Girl turns you down.
Everything.
Didn't do something. Get you
Everything is the whole world, right?
Yeah. It just stresses you. It demolishes everything. It's like the whole pack of cards falls down around you, and
you can't step out at all. You are the problem.
I fear I would still live in that state if I hadn't done these arts.
Well, usually when I meet people from my childhood or something like that, I think they're still 16.
Right.
So
they don't look 16.
No.
Right. Okay.
16.
Okay.
But behaviorally, meaning how most people function in reference and reaction to stimuli, emotional stimuli, physical stimuli, is like a child, like a teenager, really.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's standard view that most people sort of stop evolving in terms of personality at around that age.
I heard earlier.
Well, maybe it is. Yeah.
I heard that apparently by age 6 or 7, a lot of that's what I was told. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm sure there'll be people disagreeing under this.
A lot must happen when you're a teenager. So many influences, the way you develop taste and everything. And
I think the view was that many of your inbuilt biases are already decided by that age, which I guess would probably be from primary caregivers like parents and things, right?
Of course,
and stuff like this. And then what you get your snotty teenage friends on top of that as another layer. But it's like it's quite young to finish that development.
It's a little quick.
It's also like society. There's a bit of a trap you can fall into, isn't it? Because when you leave education, 16 to 18 or something, you do have the possibility to literally stop learning anything ever again for the rest of your life if you want.
That's pretty common.
Which is worrying. I don't like it if there's been a day where I haven't learned something. And I don't mean like learn what this guy's wearing today or something. It has to be something. If it's a new fact, I'm really, wow, I didn't know that about stars or something. That's interesting. I have to have something like that. But in the background, I also have to have a complete study that I'm working on, because I couldn't imagine what would happen to my brain if I didn't.
Yeah. I don't think I study enough, and my brain is definitely rotting.
You need more. Have another drink. This will help.
It will.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely less than it was. Like, that's definitely a truth. Yeah.
You don't study these days? You don't study something? I've seen you working on your practice.
I practice.
Yeah, but that is a kind of study, right?
Yeah, I mean like nerd study.
Nerd study, okay.
Yeah,
I still have that. I quite like to, just for fun, like I'll find the syllabus out of a university chemistry course or something, and then just teach myself through having it playing in the background, lectures on that subject. I still kind of do all that kind of stuff, and I don't really know why. I'm not majorly fascinated in those subjects particularly, but
there are things I study, you could say, but it's definitely not a very big piece of my life.
Sure. Yeah, okay. Maybe it's not required, Maybe I'm still caught in that habit, because I have my cultivation practice and everything that I do, but
it is a bit of a use it or lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to use it enough, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I don't know where enough is.
But you're calmer than me. I've got a bit more ADHD, so I think
you have more energy than I do.
I have to entertain this part of my brain, basically, Get it doing something. Otherwise, it starts to cause trouble, which is usually what I find. If I don't give my mind something to do,
that's definitely not
trouble,
me.
Which is a Christian saying, right?
Yeah.
What's that? Devil's hands.
Don't let the mind empty or the devil will enter, or something like that.
Something like that, isn't it?
I'm definitely not that. I could sit and gaze into space for days. I don't need anything.
Yeah, no, I couldn't do it. I could if I was focused on a practice.
Yeah, if you're doing meditation or something.
Yeah. That's almost shamanic, Just sitting staring into the...
Yeah.
Maybe there's a little shaman in you.
Wash it out.
Yeah, totally. So there's a principle I wanted to ask you about. I can't find a way to seamlessly drop this into this conversation. So I want to ask you, because it's one of the ones that there's two principles in Tai Chi that I think everybody has a different definition of. And one of them I don't care about because I think it's pointless. But the other one that's very fascinating is Zhong Ding. So obviously Zhong Ding, if people don't know, if people are listening, the Zhong Ding's often translated as central equilibrium, which is kind of what it means. Zhong means the center and Ding means a horizontal level line, essentially. So it's not a bad definition of it, really, central equilibrium. It's often also by some people talked about as being the center line in the body, almost like a bar through a merry-go-round to a carousel horse or something, from the crown to the perineum, which I certainly don't agree with, and I'm assuming Adam doesn't agree with that either. No, but I think it's increasingly, because of communication online, in the West being understood to be a major part of Tai Chi.
I think it is the major part of Tai Chi, not a major part.
So what is it?
Well, it's difficult to...
10 words or less. No, just not kidding.
I'm always 10 words.
Yeah, I know you are. You're very succinct.
I think it's something like the balancing line.
Okay.
Line can be physical, can also be metaphysical.
I didn't mean to slurp the cocktail to ruin the sincerity of the moment.
So. Between yin yang, and balancing them. So it's the equalizing point between all the opposing yin yang factors.
Okay.
Yep. And what that means is...
So it's a line.
Well, not a line in... Doesn't mean it's a line in the body. What that means changes with time.
Yeah.
So the first physical Zhong Ding, the way I teach it, is when the releasing down of the flesh and the rising of the bones achieve balance and harmony.
Right, sure.
Yep.
So you don't feel one more dominant, or one doesn't have more
so
dominant.
You don't have too much sink,
you
don't have too much up, and you have that immovability and pong and everything caused by that. Is the first Zhong Ding that I teach. First, and then you add the next one without throwing away the first one. And so on and so it's A plus B plus C plus D, like that.
Okay.
And so Zhong Ding is an evolving thing, and as you get better and better, your Zhong Ding is more complete.
And it must be sustained essentially when, I guess, first static, then in motion, and then under pressure.
Well, the second you're out of it, you're out of Tai Chi.
Sure, yeah.
That's why I say it's the most important factor. It is, it's the final of the 13, right?
Okay, sure.
Yeah, it is Tai Chi Chuan. It's making power, receiving power, doing all the things whilst maintaining Zhong Ding. Yeah,
sure. That's why I've seen you talk about maintaining qualities no matter what the other person does in partner work or something, right?
And there's many, many different components, like physical, mental, chi-wise, that have to be in balance to get that equalizing point, and that equalizing point leads to emptiness, basically. Right, so that's the way I look at it. Yeah.
Cool. I remember one of the first teachers who really gone deep into Tai Chi, I guess, that I had. I was quite lucky because center line was never something I was really taught particularly. In fact, I remember right from the beginning being told that central vertical line didn't really matter compared to other arts. Which was confusing and liberating a little bit, coming from external arts into that.
It's definitely liberating, because when you do protect it.
But also confusing, because I remember rigid, let it go. It was a very difficult thing. But it was explained to me right when I was younger, was that it was to do with a lot of the pairings with regards to the alignments of the body. So, for example, they would pair them. So one of them being to raise the back or suspend the crown.
And empty the chest.
And empty in the chest being the paired one. Yeah, so we would train the two together, and then being able to sustain them at the same time.
So if one's more than the other, you off.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Then they would pair across different alignments through the body. And then, raising the bones or sinking the flesh was one of them included in that.
I think all of those things, and they get extremely complicated beyond alignment, to do with the way the chi mobilizes and all that kind of stuff. But it's basically that in my view.
I could always feel it as well, like in the early days of pushing hands, because take, for example, that one, releasing the chest and opening the back or raising the crown, whatever. Having those principles, I could feel that as soon as I took pressure, I can either sustain this by going solid to maintain it, in which case Zhong Ding's gone anyway, or it's trying to mobilize the force inside neutralize it so they can be sustained with no physical pressure was such a trip to try to learn, especially in pushing hands, because the first class I was in, even though I was going to see like a teacher that talked about that level, my push hands, they weren't pushing hands.
Right.
So I was then having to push hands in a very wrestly, grapply class that were entering tournaments. Right. So trying to apply that.
It's difficult to leap. In increments, it's easier to build and maintain the quality, but to leap is not easy. Yeah.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
And if I wrestled with them, I could hold my own quite well, but as soon as I tried to maintain the principles, and then I understood
that's what investing in loss is, right?
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. I learned that saying. It was almost like it was stamped across my
losing whilst doing it correctly.
Yeah.
Being more devoted to the art than winning. That's what it means.
Right? My ego didn't like it, damn it, because they used to mock me because they would just run through me, and
exactly that makes your ego react less, and you're more capable of maintaining Zhong Ding because of it.
It took a while. It took a while. Yeah, I got the hang of it eventually, and then, but yeah, it was a steep learning curve.
Yeah.
But I do remember, like, thinking at the time, this is not obvious. So I have sympathy.
It's very far from obvious.
Totally. It's not natural.
It's the opposite of natural.
Completely.
Tai Chi is the opposite of natural.
I think all cultivation is the opposite of natural.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
It's the path of reversal.
Why do you think that?
Well, because natural is.
No, let's reverse it. Why do you think they say it's the path to being natural?
Oh, I'm not a scholar, so I don't know what word they're using in Chinese when they say that.
Zoran.
They certainly don't talk about it being natural in Buddhism. They say it is against the stream.
I've heard Buddhists say it's the path of being natural.
What modern day Buddhists don't study Buddhism. So the Buddha says the Dharma goes against the stream.
Mm.
So what is the stream? From God, from divinity, born, whatever, down, degeneration, death.
Right, sure.
Right?
Yep.
What's cultivation?
Yeah.
The other way.
I would agree completely. From a Taoist perspective, that's what's reversing the course or returning to source.
That's what the path is. That is what the path of cultivation is.
Yes.
To me, that's what the path of Tai Chi is. From the body to the Chi, and up like that.
I've never seen
and it's a yin-yang steps up.
I've never seen anything natural in any of these.
No, it's the opposite.
I've never seen anything natural. No. You retrain everything. No. You train your breath, you train the way you stand, you train the way you walk, you train the way you sleep, you train the way you move.
And it's not just that they're cultivated that means they're unnatural. They are actually radically opposing what is spontaneous, what arises spontaneously, right? Mm-hmm. Radically opposing. So, Tai Chi example, how do you make force? Well, you tense your muscles, and you inflate the upper body, right? You throw your upper mass around, and opposite.
Yeah. It's the rule I try to tell people I'm teaching. Tai Chi is the antithesis to logical martial arts.
Yeah.
Training. Whatever you've done in anything else, switch it around. You're probably starting to get towards.
Maybe that's why, coming back to what we mentioned before, why Tai Chi, why cultivators like Tai Chi as opposed to other martial arts more so. Mm-hmm. Because it's so unnatural. It's so the opposite. Therefore it's actually very in alignment with the path of reversal, but not in alignment with the natural way. Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason why it leads to such a high degree of mindfulness in some ways.
You have to be extremely mindful.
Because every single thing you do, you're going to do naturally, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So all that does is be unwound.
Nothing can be automatic. Everything has to be in manual.
That's really interesting. Yeah, that point you put in, nothing can be automatic. This is so different to what most martial arts...
Well, they want muscle memory and reactions. Mm-hmm. They're the enemy in Tai Chi.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So you have to be supremely mindful.
But why? Why is it the issue?
It doesn't matter. It's better for cultivation. That's all I care about.
Sure, okay.
Yeah. I don't care about the other result or not very much.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Other than a bit of fun.
Yeah, I still really enjoy martial arts. More conventional martial arts training. I still really like it. I think it's good. I think it's really good for the people I'm teaching, especially the ones that are younger, and I enjoy the interaction with them on that level.
Well, if they haven't done that, then they're not going to be able to do the other stuff, more internal stuff, very well. You need a body. Mm-hmm. You need to know where it is, how it moves. You need to be able to endure. You need to be able to apply effort. You know.
Yeah.
Like what was normal once upon a time. That kind of stuff.
I've been surprised when I'm teaching. I'm like, hey, you know, like when you hit someone and all the young boys just look at me blank.
I've never done that.
Yeah, they've never hit anybody, and I realize that they're either much nicer than me or life has just changed.
It's changed.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like play fighting or even not play fighting, like egotistical fighting when you're younger, which is never life or death, really, is it?
They don't even have bullying anymore.
No.
Which I'm sure people think is good, but I think it's really bad.
Well, they do. They have online bullying instead.
Yeah, now it's worse. But
yeah.
The problem is all the lessons you learn from that, they don't get that.
There's nothing to overcome.
And so when they go into the real world, they just don't have the qualities. Like, I think it's a negative thing that they've eradicated that from schools and stuff.
You eradicated bullying?
Yeah.
That's probably the opposite take of how most people.
I'm sure it is. Yeah.
Because
you make a pack of.
You mean physical bullying, I assume?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I do.
But I think bullying is worse now.
It is, but
or more common.
It is. It's worse in a lot of ways too. But even that, the world's just not a pretty place. You have to be. Yeah. It's like growing up in a little bubble, and then you go outside, and you're not robust. You're weak. You're sick. You can't resist anything in life. It's not going to work for anyone.
Yeah.
When you're young and adaptive and forming your personality and capable of changing quickly, you want pressure. Like, no pressures. It's not going to work out. Life's not utopia.
And in some ways, the psychological pressure of online bullying, which a lot of people suffer whilst being divorced from any real threat, almost, how do you cultivate? Like, it doesn't pressurize you in the way that is useful in development.
No. It's purely negative. It's purely negative.
Yeah. Nowadays, you can bully someone on the other side of the planet.
Well, the thing is, even the bully's not getting anything out. Like, see, when the bully, someone finally stands up to the bully, they get a lesson too, you know?
Yeah.
It's not right that the bully is not learning about life either.
Yes.
But in this internet version, no one's getting anything.
No. And I've seen people, I've seen it happen, almost take pleasure at winning an online argument like they've won a real fight or something like, ha-ha, defeated this guy or something like there's forums full of people, grown men in their 50s, joyous because they were blocked.
Well, that's and they have their online persona and their like avatar, or whatever it's called, and like they cultivate that instead of themselves.
Yeah,
I play a video game, and my video game character, he's handsome and muscular, and he's got all the chicks, and he's got powers. The high level, and like I made it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
another layer. It's like if you got the spirit realm. Awesome. Causal, astral, whatever, then you've got the physical realm, which, spiritual traditions have long said this might not be the most real realm that we live within, and now we've added another one.
The most pure delusional realm.
Yeah, we've added a video game realm and telephone realm and avatar realm or whatever, all these layers that it's like before you even get past the mire of this current existence, you have to get through all of those layers first, and people are stuck in those kind of layers.
Yeah.
Did you know there's a gender ideology based upon your online character?
No, and I don't know what that means.
Right, let me explain. I can't remember what it's called. Something like something fox. I don't know, but
like a foxy woman?
No, because this may come as a surprise to you, but they've developed these machines called computers. You gamer.
You've observed my level of high techness, I see.
There's a oh, fuck, now I'm going to get the terminology wrong and embarrass myself as well, thus disproving my point. Oh, rain. But there's a rival to Google or an alternative called Firefox, right?
Right.
That's another search engine. And so they named the gender after this. And basically it is, you want to be identified by the gender that your online persona is rather than your real person. So if I identify as male and then my online persona is female or one of the other genders, then you must identify my real gender as that gender.
It's just one step towards upload my consciousness onto the web and I'll be a digital immortal.
Hey man, I'm really woke, I'm down with it. I'm happy to accept that I'm just out of date, but once it gets to that level, fuck it, I'm lost. Like, I got no idea.
Unfortunately, those people will be lost. That's a big problem for them.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's bad. With regards to that, like, male, female, you want to be that, you want to be this, whatever. But once you're identifying as your online avatar, that's a little concerning. I think that's a step too far.
The delusion is thick,
Yeah. It's easy for me as a cultivator my identity shouldn't matter. Like,
if you're interested in cultivation at
Yes.
all,
yes,
the first lesson is stop identifying, right?
yeah.
And that lesson never ends.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're interested in the cultivation world at all, and you identify as something, you're off track.
Yeah.
Totally.
I've had people at the start of classes now ask me to identify them as something. Like, can you use this pronoun or something? And I've had to say to them, look,
Just how about your name?
yeah, totally. Like, but this is a code of like your identity. This is the least important place for your identity. This arena, this space is identityless. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
You're not even male or female. You're just a lump of flesh that needs correcting, so that you can do your art better, and then
That's it.
go for the tubular eyes. With all of that kind of mentality, it feels like the wrong place.
Maybe that's why it's, at least for me, I find all that stuff very difficult to relate to at all in any way.
Yeah.
Spend decades not identifying, releasing identification.
Me too. But then when I chat with my brother, who is more, he's not a cultivator, and he's in that world, and he's very
In
interested
the normal,
in
like that.
yeah, and he's interested in the latest trends and the latest fads. He gets it all. Do you know what I mean? He's into it, and then he talks to me, and I say so. He's like, "You're a caveman, brother," and I just, maybe it's because I'm older, but I think actually it's the same. It's because I'm in a world that you're really not supposed to be focused on any of those kind of things. So this obsession with identification does seem a little counterproductive.
The problem is, so what's the cause of suffering?
Yes.
Identification is the cause of suffering.
Yes.
Ugh.
So I went to a Buddhist university or college, I can't remember, in America. And when I walked in the door, it says a Buddhist college, and it made me think of you, because as I walked in the door, they handed me a badge, and I had to put my pronouns on the badge as I walked in, which I thought was just a really cosmic joke. Like, if I'd have walked into a social work university or a psychology college, I would have thought, but a Buddhist one, that was really funny. I should have been able to just write emptiness.
It says it all, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, it's over, it's over.
It just made me laugh. But when I said that to the people I was with, they didn't get the joke.
They don't know Buddhism.
They were the lecturers.
I'd argue they don't know Buddhism.
Yeah. Maybe I could counter that by saying maybe if you're studying the history of Buddhism, you're not Buddhist. But I think everybody was Buddhist at that university. So,
but not just Buddhism, all spirituality.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
All of it. Mm. You have to go beyond identifying so you can identify with the divine.
Maybe that is a gender. What is your gender?
Divine.
Divine gender.
Divine Damo.
I identify as divine. Is that not good enough?
That's good enough. I'm
you
down with that one.
Identify me as divine.
Yeah, that one's great. It's good.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to add that to all my social media handles.
I think it's a good one, yeah.
So as I present you with this pina colada, which is that curdled? Is that supposed to happen?
It's all right.
It's all right, is it?
Yeah,
stir it up a bit. Pina colada. This is a highly feminine drink, right? Pina
Suits
colada.
my shirt.
It does suit your shirt, my flowers. I think actually
I identify
Ronnie
as
and
divine.
Dal might be jealous that we're drinking these while they're not here, actually. It's pretty good, though. But while we're here drinking these cocktails, I'd like to ask you about toxins. Toxins versus purity, I suppose, or cleanliness. What's the opposite?
Purity, like in health.
Yeah, so
in the body.
Let me present you with an idea or a concept and see what you think. When I am teaching, I've always had I'm fairly clean living, contrary to what our videos might look like. I'm fairly clean living, like I look after myself. But at the same time, I'll allow myself to just let loose and have a drink or a cigar or something like that. Wouldn't want to be addicted to the things, but I think it's cool. But it always horrifies the people I know or the people I teach quite often when they hear that that's happened or something, because there's almost like an aversion to toxins.
Mm-hmm. And I've experienced the same. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, but why do I see so many of those people that are averse to toxins so toxic? That's my question. It's like they're so clean living. Some of these people, not a drop of sugar enters their mouth. You know,
so they're weak then.
All right, elaborate on that, because that's quite a damning statement.
Well, I think health is, to be robust is to be healthy.
Yeah.
To be strong. I don't just mean you can pick up heavy things strong, to have the ability to endure.
Shrug stuff off.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if you live in a bubble, but back to the bubble, right?
Yeah.
The no sugar bubble, the everything bubble.
Mm-hmm.
The moment something touches you, which it does, because you're in the world, you're sick.
Yeah, sure. Okay, yeah.
So that's a problem, definitely.
It's like when parents bring up their kids
Exactly.
with a totally clean diet, and then they generally develop addictions to like sugars and shit.
It's not going to work out.
Yeah.
And your body probably can't deal with it. It's not trained to deal with things.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those people just don't get enough nutrition. There's that.
Yeah.
Because they think that highly nutritious food is like too fatty or too this or too that. So they eat something with basically no nutrition.
Yeah.
So they're weak. Blood deficient.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've taught really strenuous courses. You've seen what I teach.
Yeah.
Especially while you've been here. And I think it's fair to say it's quite hard work, some of the stuff I do with these guys. Yeah. Contrary to what a lot of the people might think out there in the YouTube world, they think what I teach is very gentle.
I'd say, and they think it's like a breeze. You guys just like wave your hands around. It's that
yeah. So I've done these highly strenuous lessons, and then lunchtime comes and people have got like a bowl of, I don't even know what dal is, but they have dal and there's some unknown grains in there I can't quite see, and a single olive.
Yeah, they should have a steak or something.
Yeah, and it's been a real hard sell sometimes to tell people, or if you're vegetarian, just eat fucking more. You can't have that little like.
You need to eat a lot.
Sack of beetroot or something like. Yeah, it's amazing that people don't consume enough.
Not even close. Not even close.
Yeah.
At every time I teach a workshop before lunch, all right, go eat heaps of protein, everyone. Yes. I order them to go do it every time.
Right.
I don't know what they do.
Maybe I need to be heavier on that.
I at least let them know what I think. Of course, I'm not going to control what they eat.
Yeah.
But there's no if, but, or maybe about what I think about it.
Right, okay.
Because you can't transform your body if you don't fuel it.
Yes.
You can't build the chi if you don't fuel it. You're just going to go backwards.
Yeah. I think it's because as well, when I chat to them, it's known that at later stages you consume less.
Yeah, way later.
Yeah, exactly. Way later. Yeah. Your body has to get to a stage where it's able to even develop or sustain itself from the inside or from somewhere deeper before you replace your normal sustenance, right?
Yeah. Which is way later.
Yeah, I'm not there.
Right. That's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, therefore, no one you're teaching is. Right? I mean, I think it's way later. You think it's way later. Therefore, for the students, it's way, 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 way later.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's this thing. I read a book about an immortal. I read a book about a Buddha. And they didn't sleep and didn't eat. It's like, yeah, try that.
So that brings us on to another thing then. What this idea of being a Buddha? What is a Buddha? That's almost like that Zimbabwe video.
What is a Buddha? Okay.
Yeah.
Why are you a Buddha?
What is Buddha? Because I'm just a heathen, simple Taoist, so I don't know these things.
Well, let's say there's signs of a Buddha, okay? Because what is a Buddha is one of the four you can't comprehend. Incomprehensibles, right?
Worst questioner ever.
But there are signs of a Buddha.
Did I choose one of the only four?
There are only four,
questions?
Yeah.
Genius.
Maybe it's not worded exactly like that, but that's the basic meaning of it.
Okay, so what are the signs of a Buddha?
So one of the signs of a Buddha is that he can fly and eject fire and water from the pores simultaneously.
Seems rather clear.
And all Buddhas demonstrate that in their life.
Mm-hmm. So that's particular preset combination, is it?
Yes, that is the skill. Only the Buddhas, they say, according to Buddhism.
Yes.
According to Buddhist dogma.
Yeah.
Only the Buddhas, not other enlightened beings, only Buddhas can demonstrate this.
Okay.
So, if you can't do that, you're not a Buddha.
Yep.
Now, in modern Buddhism,
I can't do that. No. I can't identify as divine anymore.
Those three.
Yes.
Let alone all three simultaneously, right? That's pretty hardcore.
My divine identity has to go, I think.
Yeah, it's just not correlating with reality.
Yeah. Okay.
So, according to modern Buddhism, like probably the types at the university, they think being a Buddha is some kind of psychological state.
Yeah, that's the discussion I have with people.
Which is a complete demoralization and destruction of Buddhism, in my opinion.
And that psychological state would be calm. from what I can see.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Take Valium. I'm a Buddha. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm calm, or something like that. I
Yeah,
psychologically don't identify with my personality.
So are Buddhists? Are they? Because I've spent time in Buddhism, but you've got far more experience than me in that particular world. Why don't they know about? Like, are these stories?
Well, they do in the world I'm from.
But in the wider communities, I guess, of Buddhism, do they believe these are metaphorical, these stories of the Buddha, like fire and water representing,
I don't know.
mental states or something like that? Or I don't know if there's discussion around these things.
I've heard and seen in modern Buddhist books, people say there's nothing supernatural in Buddhism. Buddhism is purely psychological.
I saw one Buddhist teacher write in the foreword, fairly eminent Buddhist, saying that most of Buddhism is superstitious esotericism.
Yeah, I mean,
that was by a particular Lama. It's quite a famous one.
That's sad, and
yeah,
I mean, that's working against the divine, in my opinion.
Right. Okay.
It's part of the Kali Yuga. It's like the wrong direction.
Sure.
So I think they should just say that they're just into psychology.
Yeah.
They want to be calm and cool, or they want this kind of like
go
with the flow personality.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. But anything to do with spiritual cultivation, only maybe one very small strata. That's it.
Yeah, it confuses me a lot because I guess like right from a young age, I always knew that enlightenment, which I know is an English word, everyone always picks me up and says, I know, but you know what I'm applying it to. It's just a word. But they always pick me up and used to when I was younger. Well, no, I mean, sorry. When I was younger, they used to tell me that's a very difficult thing. Like it's
everyone's
exactly. I'm very surprised how many people I see online that you just go on the video and they say, I have achieved Buddhahood, I am fully awakened, I've achieved enlightenment. It's a lot. There's a lot.
No, they're awesome.
I think they're wrong.
They're a little wrong.
A little bit wrong.
Maybe they'll fly over with fire and water and tell us, but until then...
It'd be a great cameo in the podcast. They'd be welcome to. Yeah, I don't understand. I don't get how something gets reduced to something so simple. Is it because we can't, as humans, accept that something might be beyond our capabilities?
Well, people reduce Tai Chi to wrestling, and right?
Yeah, I mean, I have to accept I'll never be the world-class male model or something like that.
So reduce everything down to that. Yeah, well, they do that too. Beauty is obesity or whatever. Right?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, it happens in all spheres of life. People drag everything down to their lowest common state.
So we drag all those goalposts over towards us.
Which is, I can't understand that. That would be miserable. There'd be no drive in life, nowhere to go, nothing to do. It would be boring. Yeah, I'm already there.
That sounds like a lot of people's lives.
Yeah. It doesn't sound very fun or exciting to me.
No. I think that's partly where the demonization of siddhi comes from as well, meaning psychic ability, if you don't know the term, right?
It's really weird. There's no such demonization in the canon, like in the Pali, at all.
No, but there are past saints, masters, that have said don't obsess over them.
Sure.
Which is a different thing, isn't it? But I think it's become that whole black and white. People are either on one camp or they're in the other. It's like you have to obsess over them or you don't do them at all. Yeah. And I've met, certainly through teaching, people who come from both camps, and I've heard people say, siddhis are just irrelevant. My teacher was enlightened and he didn't have siddhis, or something like which is such an incorrect statement.
They even say samadhi.
Yes.
You don't even need samadhi, let alone siddhi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You need nothing.
But then there's also the other camp that really obsessed over cities. There are a lot of those. There's whole communities online.
They just try to cultivate them in and of themselves. You know?
Yeah. Well, that's separate from cultivation.
That's obviously a total deviation.
Yes.
But both camps are a deviation.
Yeah. I would say in some ways the anti-city crowd are less likely to get really horrible character defects. I see some terrible character defects in the people hunting the city.
Some of the worst characters that I've observed.
I just see people not getting very far in the other camp, but some terrible the ones that hunt the powers.
Yeah.
After a while, speaking to them, it's
you're meant to hunt the divine, not the powers.
Yeah, that's key. Yeah.
But the no city camp don't hunt the divine either. They hunt the psychological state of peace, right? Mm. And the city camp hunt powers. They're both not on it.
It's a joke, isn't it? You only want peace when you're not peaceful.
Peace is one of the
obviously,
first achievements.
Yeah, it should become irrelevant to
Yeah.
you. So if you're still constantly talking about achieving peace, the implication was it's equivalent of doing affirmations in the mirror in the morning, which means you're not
I am
okay.
peaceful, I am happy.
Yeah. Which you wouldn't be doing if you were peaceful and happy, right?
Yeah.
So so it gets lost in that sort of strata. So what is the difference between psychology and spirituality?
Psychology is of the personality.
Mm-hmm.
Spirituality has nothing to do with the personality.
So how does somebody get from their psychological obsession, state, practice, to spirituality?
Through the path of reversal.
Yeah, okay. That's an easy answer. I think that's a circular answer, isn't it?
It is a little bit, yeah.
But yeah, you're right.
I mean, it can't be a how-to. It makes it kind of hard to answer. But
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
a difficult question. Sorry.
there are different ways, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You need to realize the divine within, spirit, soul within,
Mm-hmm.
and identify with it, not in a psychological way, unify with it more and more. Shed the other and go towards that. I would say it's that.
The problem is that almost
Getting
everything
that first taste is hard. Sorry.
I'd say that the problem is almost everything that manifests along the way towards that manifests in your psychology, which is a part of the problem. Do you know what I mean? Like rather than an actual
Unless you
direct,
get except for cities.
yes, or a direct touch of spirit itself,
Yeah.
or the divine. Like, I mean, everything along that spectrum towards that place is psychological.
Well, I think the
in some sense.
psychological has to be cleaned up. Definitely. I'm not saying it has no value. It's just step one.
Yep.
It's like stretch your body, make your body strong and functional, I usually just say become normal.
Yes.
Normalize your psychology.
Which is almost like doing natural.
There's the natural. Right? I think the psychology should be natural.
Yeah, okay.
Stabilized and basic.
Yeah.
Simple. Yeah, you need to do that.
But mildly eccentric, I think.
I don't think it is harmful.
Yes.
Not destructive is what I mean.
Mm.
The psychology can't be destructive. That's what matters. The other quirks don't matter. If they're not destructive, who cares?
To self or others, you mean? Just collectively?
What's the difference? I mean, if you're destructive to self, you're not going to be able to traverse the path. If you're destructive to others, you're destructive to self. You can't traverse the path.
Sure. Okay, yes.
I think it's the same. Yeah.
So, again, asking you questions that I kind of have my own take on it, so I'm just curious on yours. It's difficult because I already kind of know a lot of your views as well, because we spend so much time together, right? So I kind of know your views, but there's mind, self, psychology, whatever, there, the individual, there he is, identifying as his online avatar gender, and then there is divinity and spirit.
Yeah.
Here's something in the middle. There's a step right there, which becomes one of the most controversial parts, I think, in Eastern arts, because so many people are Buddhist or have
talking about soul. Or?
Talking about soul, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm unsure whether someone can step from self to spirit without touching soul first.
I don't know.
Or if you can, if it's very common for that to be the case. But I found that when I talk about spirit, people are more acceptant of it for some reason than if I talk about soul.
Oh, that's because they're brought up with Christians and now they have like a problem with Christianity and the word soul.
Do you think that's what it is?
Yeah.
Do you think it's the anti-Christian feel?
I do, yeah.
Could be that, couldn't it? Because I grew up without any religion in a very unreligious community.
Totally.
Churches were things you threw eggs at sometimes, or something, which now as I look back is a terrible thing to do. But
no, it's the same as me. Yeah.
So but neither word soul or spirit ever had any particular loading for me.
Yeah.
But do you think more people do with soul?
I do.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I do. And particularly most people, because of the Christian thing, which I find ugly, the way they have aversion towards it. But
Me too.
It's yuck.
Religious aversion is...
What could be more ugly?
Yeah.
What are you averse to, sir? I'm averse to the divine.
Which is my identity now. Well, yeah, but often then when you explore, they're not actually... What they're averse to is some niche human activity that's been associated with that
Sure.
religion, isn't it? Quite often.
So if you can't separate
like
things,
fucking the choir boys or
yeah,
something
sure.
like that. Yeah.
Okay, well, if that's your measurement, then you have to be averse to everything in life.
Because everything is subject to deviance.
Yeah.
Right.
And everything has been deviated and tainted throughout history, everything. So it's not a fair way to divide things. It's not honest.
No.
It's mixed, it's the baby in the bathwater thing. Like, you can't separate things. It's no discernment, right?
Yeah. And it's also easy to pick apart like great books of wisdom, like the Bible or whatever, or any of the great spiritual texts, because you can find snippets of things that upset modern sensibilities.
Sure.
And rightly so, because they are also reflections of the cultural era they were written in.
But they don't matter.
Totally. And if something's written 2,000 years ago, we can't expect it to be completely up to date.
Exactly.
I mean, my granddad wasn't up to date. You wouldn't put
apparently we're not up to date.
No, that's true. We're not up to date either. Jeremy said, we're not up to date. My granddad, you wouldn't put him in a multi-ethnic room.
Yeah.
There'd be people upset all over the place. But I don't hold it against him. He's dead, so I can't. But he's old.
It's a sign of the times. I mean, they missed...
So how can you count 2,000 years?
They missed the essential point for the frill,
Yes.
Which is not the right way to view things.
Yes.
And it's destructive to them, to the individual, to the person, because they miss out on the path.
Yeah.
Totally. I think it's a great error. So anyway, so that's for the Christian thing, right? That's common. And then the Buddhists for, anatta, right? No.
I'm not intelligent enough to debate Buddhists.
Yeah, it's a problem.
It's a problem because you start.
They're really good at it.
They always know the words.
Yeah.
That's the problem. They know the words. And I don't, and by the time I try to read something, especially not being within their tradition, I have to go look up the words. It takes so long. I can't really discuss for them, but there does seem to be an aversion to the idea of soul or God.
Yeah.
Within Buddhism as well, right?
Yeah.
Well, definitely God, isn't it? They're anti that too.
Certainly within Buddhists.
So what's your take on that? What do you mean within Buddhists?
Well, not within Buddhism
then? Okay.
Well, not within what the Buddha taught.
Sure.
Which I would call Buddhism what the Buddha taught, and then Buddhists how they interpret.
Okay.
Yeah. So people interpret it that way.
It's a major schism sort of division. That's quite a major point. It's much easier within Taoism talks about the soul, and Taoism talks about gods and things, and I guess, but even then Taoists will say that there's no...
Taoists don't have a supreme creator, do they?
They do, actually.
What is
within a lot of it. They have the Jade Emperor would be seen as essentially at least a lower level avatar of the creator.
Yeah, but it's not then it's not the same as God.
They would still talk about it, though.
Well, they do in Buddhism too. There's heaps of high level, there's heaps of gods.
Yeah.
All the Hindu gods are in Buddhism, right?
The confusion in Taoism is only because they say Tao is an unidentified thing. But more to me, the term Tao, by the very nature of it, means path, right? So I think that what's missed in Taoism is sometimes they're not using Tao to say we don't think there's a God or don't want to speak about God. We're simply saying that final thing is not as important as the path to get there in the first place. Yeah. So as a tradition, we are the practice and walk along the path tradition. That's it. And don't worry about the end goal. But then within... Often that's used as an argument to negate the existence of the end of the path, which by the nature of a paths are linear. If I walk along a path, I will get to an end point, right? So they are discussing something being there, the source.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
It has to be, otherwise it's not a path.
Yeah, completely. Otherwise you just wander around in circles.
Yeah. So this is what I think's funny. If they don't believe in these things, why...
Buddhists.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, anyone.
Okay, yeah.
But I'm not picking on Buddhists by any means. Yeah, fair enough. So let's say you don't believe in spirit or soul or anything that is innately divine and goes on.
Yes.
Why are you practicing?
I don't know.
So the answer is they do believe in these things. They just intellectually argue against it. They paint on a veneer of anatta belief. But what drives them towards practice in the first place, what drags them onto the path, is the innate connection, knowing, desire for connection to spirit, soul, God, right? Otherwise, why do you practice? If there's nothing to become enlightened, to become free, to become divine, why do you practice? There's no answer.
Peace.
Valium.
Pina coladas.
Exactly.
Yeah, this isn't it. If you take away the idea of divinity and you take away the idea of say if the definition of soul is something that carries on beyond this life, you take away the idea of becoming more than a normal basic human, or what's left really? Like what? What are you doing it for? You're better off just going to the pub and enjoying yourself.
My primary Buddhist teacher certainly doesn't talk like there's nothing that goes on. Never.
Like there's nothing what? Sorry?
Nothing that goes on.
Right, okay. Yeah.
He says, I'll translate it as consciousness, but it doesn't really work. But consciousness is immortal.
It's a fairly clear statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But most Buddhists would freak out and hate that. Nothing's immortal, right?
Right. Okay.
Yeah. That's what they would say.
To play devil's advocate, even if, as a non-Buddhist playing devil's advocate, even if that were true, so there's no soul and consciousness is not infinite and not eternal and it didn't carry on and stuff like that, it almost becomes like the food argument. Like surely that's true at a very, very, very late stage.
Even if that was the case, it would only be later.
That's what I mean.
For now,
right?
you definitely have a self-existence.
Yeah. It's like I say, look, you've got to contact your soul. We don't believe in the soul. Okay, well, find the soul first and then negate its existence.
Yeah, sure.
You can't jump straight past that.
Right.
To just eradicating your existence. Like what?
That's what happens with the don't do jhana, don't do samadhi. You'll get attached to jhana. You'll mistake jhana for enlightenment.
Don't do jhana?
Yeah.
That's a teaching?
Only by the modern corruptors of Buddhism.
So what do they do?
Well, they don't practice. I don't know. They imagine or whatever.
I thought that was the basis of Buddhism.
It is.
Right, okay.
If you count Buddhism as what the Buddha taught.
Right, okay. Yeah.
But the modern Buddhism, a lot of them are like, don't do jhana. Jhana's dangerous or you get attached to it. It's like, well, worry about that when you're attached to it. How about actually getting there first?
It is quite alluring.
Yeah.
I mean, they're right.
Yeah. But they can't do it.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Yeah, there's no point worrying about your addiction to something you don't have. If you've never drunk alcohol, you're not going to be an alcoholic.
No, it's silly. I mean, you don't know what it is.
I've never heard saying jhana.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Even though the Buddha says because these are the people that talk about insight, right?
Yeah.
Says there's no insight for those without jhana.
Okay. I guess it's similar in alchemy, where there is a movement towards transforming the teachings around substances, which
into psychological
qualities.
Yeah, I've seen that in the alchemical traditions. Yeah.
For example, I'm going to reveal your dark secret here on this podcast that I know you actually know a fair amount about alchemical practices, including Taoists and Chinese.
A little bit.
Practices. You know more than you. People would be surprised at how much you know, I think.
May that be the case with all subjects.
So, as you know, that actually when they're discussing Jing, Qi, Shen, or treasures, or even things like mercury and gold and lead, all of the metaphorical terms, the reason they use metaphors of fairly tangible substances is because the practices, including meditative states, generate changes to physical and literal substances within the body.
Absolutely.
Everything from magnetic and electrical energies through to hormonal energies, and which produce substances and chemicals, physical things, right?
And the subtle substances are substances.
Yeah,
like
completely.
even not the physical ones.
Yeah.
Definitely. But they dumb that down to the psychological, right?
Yeah.
I've seen that, definitely. And some of them are very well written and they're beautiful texts and everything, but it's not the real stuff.
Louis Ming's
perfect example of making it all psychological.
Louis Ming is a strange one. Like I really like his personality.
It's nice. I like it all. I really enjoyed the books, but they are psychological.
Stern guy.
He reminds me of a cranky, dry Buddhist.
Yeah, totally. Exactly, Buddhist. It's more like reading a Buddhist view on Taoism.
Yeah.
But
not even the proper Buddhism. It's more like a modern version. Yeah.
But it's heresy to say that. Heresy
to say that. It's obvious.
Because Louis Ming is a saint, right? It's a funny thing. Mm. But there's whole alchemical schools, Chinese alchemical schools, based upon saying that these substances are metaphors purely.
Well, then it's not alchemy.
States. I agree completely. What is it? And
It's psychology.
I have critics who take apart my view and say, well, no, I tried to study with the real alchemical person. I knew because he had a little square hat and a blue outfit.
Yeah.
And so I could tell he was real. And they'll actually critique what I'm saying and say, no, actually, these are all psychological states. And it's very similar to what's happened with Buddhism, where they've turned it into psychology.
Because it's the times.
The time of mind. Mind obsession. That's depressing, isn't it?
It's unfortunate. I mean, the paths get lost, don't they? They get destroyed, and
Yeah. I mean, on the other hand, Taoism suffered a little bit of the other opposite, where their schools over-focus on substances.
Absolutely.
To the point of...
Too much focus on the physical is definitely a problem.
Yeah. But it's like the city, The city is a reflection of what you've achieved with your consciousness or whatever. The energetic accumulation or whatever is, or chemical accumulation is a byproduct of what you've achieved with your practice, right?
Yeah.
Should be.
Yeah.
Yes.
A result.
A result.
A measurement.
Well, you need something tangible.
Well, you need something that's not just a fleeting aspect of mind, which is what the psychology is, right?
Yes. On top of that, it's always great if something actually improves your physical functioning as well. That's an added bonus. I mean, I always think the good thing about alchemy is you do your meditative practice, and then afterwards you get to step outside and go, I can enjoy life more just because my body functions to a higher degree. Yeah, and you might. Some people of the sort of body is trash kind of mindset.
I think it's a mistake.
Yeah, me too. What are you going to do? Live in this? Just create more dukkha.
I'm all about having detachment from body sensation.
Yeah. Okay.
Freedom from it, so
Yes.
you can train hard, go hard, and not like bitch out about life, right?
Yes.
But that's not the same as body has no value. Body is trash. It's not the same thing at all.
Yeah. Sure.
I mean, in the canon, the Buddha says the entire path is found in this body.
Mm-hmm.
Every single aspect is within the body. And he says, if you must identify with the body, not the mind.
Really? If you must identify with the body and not the mind.
I'm paraphrasing. Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. At least the body lasts 80 years. The mind doesn't even last 1 second.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just a changing nothing, right?
And yet, I guess the extreme of that is it's the question, isn't it? Do we live in an age where people identify with the body, with a kind of physical narcissism, or do they identify with the mind and its attraction to that form or whatever,
We are in an age where people identify with their psychology, their mind.
Yeah.
Definitely. I feel like therefore I am is a perfect example.
Sure. It's like, even when I've mentioned like stoic as a quality that I think is
a necessary
positive.
quality. Yeah.
I think it's a virtue to at least have the option to be stoic if you choose to. It's not always the best option at all times.
So it's a skill.
Yeah, it's something you have to. But when I've said that, there's almost like a bulking against it from spiritual practitioners. Like stoicism is like a negative trait because it shows repression of your emotions or disconnection from how you feel, or
I mean it's it's the opposite of the path, right?
Mm-hmm.
People have fallen into the opposite way for everything.
I've never met a really high-level cultivator, like supreme high-level, who isn't incredibly tough and able to completely discount what they're feeling if they need to.
If it would, you never will.
No,
because it's causal.
Yes.
How are you going to get there to do this impossible feat?
Yeah.
And this strenuous path, hour in, hour out, year after year, if you're not stoic? It's impossible.
It's going to be tricky because there's going to be a lot of things that arise.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
So, of course, that's going to be in their character.
Yes. So do you think that cultivation, like personal cultivation, is a selfish thing to do? And I just let you answer that first. What do you think on that? Because I've struggled with that in the past.
The most selfless person I've ever met is a cultivator.
I guess that's the counter. What if you didn't get to that level, but you spent lots of time cultivating?
Probably.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But compared to what? Everyone else living their selfish life that never gets anywhere.
Mm.
So yes, I think you need it's kind of selfish, but the outcome is selfless and vast and immeasurable. So maybe for a while.
You have to walk away from a lot of things sometimes.
Is that
I've
selfish?
found. Other people might say so.
Whatever you do, other people are going to criticize you.
I hadn't noticed that.
Just hang around with me a bit longer.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess so. I've known people that early on in their path, even people I've taught to whatever level I can help them with, that have that same concern. Is this selfish
Compared to what?
spend all this time? I guess that's the counter answer, isn't it? Compared to what?
In my opinion, most people make these statements about ideas.
Yeah.
Just to ask them, compared to what?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Compared to what?
So do you think the pressure of this being selfish is often coming from maybe other people that don't like you? It's like if one person raises their head up and everyone claws and drags them back down, or
well,
something.
that's a massive cultural problem all over the world. Yeah.
Yes.
But you know what? Compared to going to the pub at night?
Yeah. Yeah, or I guess it's less selfish to spend that cultivation time sitting with your partner watching TV or something like that. That's more sharing. Or
okay, it might be more sharing, but I would guarantee that if you achieve anything cultivation, the benefit to your partner will be manifold, right? Many times more. And yet, to your family, and even to your family who have already passed.
Yeah. Well, there's entering into another realm of it. That's part of that's true. The burning of sort of family karma or something.
Yeah, for sure. So I think it's selfless. Now, yes, you focus on yourself, but the outcome is of benefit to many, right?
So what do you think is the difference, just to fire some questions at you, what do you think the difference is between what I've seen people that go into this path and move towards selflessness and become a better benefit to their community. I'm not going to say society, because
it's too broad.
Yeah, community.
People around.
I'm anti-society. I'm pro-community as a rule within me. But I've seen other people go into this path and just become increasingly narcissistic, power-hungry, and self-centered.
They're not on the path.
What's the difference? What do you think?
They're probably chasing the cities.
Yeah, that's probably true, actually. I think you're right. The ones, yeah, you're right. It's when I've had either people I've taught, I guess, or people that I've met from peers and things that are very power hungry and have that kind of ego that want to be worshipped or something.
Yes.
Yeah, I generally find they're fascinated with the cities, and they make all kinds of excuses for it, but that's what they go for. Yeah, the idea of connection to something bigger than themselves is less attractive.
Yeah, I think that's really strange. I guess that's being totally removed from the divinity within.
Yeah.
Which most people are, so big deal. But if there's any connection, then the draw to that which is bigger than yourself is going to become larger in your life and eventually overwhelming. So if you only want to sort of press down on people and be the man and everything, I guess there's just no connection there yet.
Yeah.
But there isn't for most people. I mean, they just happen to be pretending on this path instead of playing football or something. Like, it's not like everyone that does esoterica is spiritual, not at all.
No.
Not even close.
And sometimes it's hard to pick that up.
Well, it takes experience and time, I guess. Yeah.
You get to know someone.
To get to know someone over time, right?
Yeah.
Over time. Unless you're like super attained or something, but for people like me, you have to spend time.
As you know, sometimes, on occasion, my teacher has literally told me, that person you're teaching on this event, dressed in blue, stood over there, stop teaching them.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right.
Yes.
Yeah, well, you have to follow the instruction, but it's supposed to be in a very difficult position, because then I have to go over and I'm really sorry, you have to go. Yeah. And they're like, why? I don't know. So it doesn't matter. You just have to leave. Like it's one of the more unpleasant parts of this kind of path, that there is a kind of filtering thing that has to go through people as they go through these arts, right?
So I mean, I can't discern at that level. So
no.
So I mean, there are some people who I can tell straight away they're no good. Right?
I can do it by haircut.
It takes time.
Haircuts.
Well, we're safe with each other.
Right. Honestly, man, sometimes someone comes in with that haircut, I can tell. It's the Hitler haircut. You have to get rid of that one. But yeah, sorry, you were saying.
It just takes time around people, doesn't it? To really know someone. Like, someone might be rough exterior. Yeah. You might think, oh, this guy's self-centered, he's rough, he's this. but actually everything they're doing is to benefit others. You don't know. It takes time.
Well,
to know people.
I've made that mistake quite badly with some seniors
It happens.
where I trusted them and turns out I
Not just you.
got it wrong.
Yeah, me too.
It's difficult.
But you learn from getting burned, and you learn to see patterns, and I mean that's how intelligence evolves, right?
Yeah, sure. And sometimes I smacked in the face reminding you don't have that intelligence.
That needs to evolve from seeing the pattern many times.
Oh, I did something stupid again. I was blind.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's easy to do that, especially when you want to see the best in people, right?
Yeah. Well, there's nothing worse than looking at someone and just thinking bad things about them. And I think many people live like that. And
it'd be a sad place to be because it'd make you feel bitter and miserable inside.
Yeah. So after all, you have to try and spot the good in people, but then the fuckers surprise you in a bad way, unfortunately.
I have definitely been burned by seeing the good in people when I really shouldn't have. A number of times.
Mm-hmm.
But I still would rather do it like that, and I'll do it like that next time, I'm sure. Until I can see with the divine eye, it will be that.
Yeah. You have to trust, and
it's not for them. I don't do it for them.
Yeah.
Because it would be a miserable place to be. To not. It's like being paranoid and weird, not having trust. I mean, I sort of innately trust people too much.
Yes.
But if you're not going to function like that, I think you're going to be unhappy.
Yeah, I think that's true. There's also that line in the one of the lines in the Tao Te Ching as well, which again paraphrase horribly, but is that you essentially should always sustain a way of being, but you shouldn't expect it in anybody else.
Yeah,
and and that I don't know why. Like when you read a line, it was like, oh right, okay. Yeah. So actually, I shouldn't project what I expect onto other people with regards to their behaviors. But
if you do, you're never going to be satisfied.
Yes.
By anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. So in the practice in arts, try to draw this discussion towards some kind of conclusion. Since we're kind of looking at cultivation, as well as riffing on a few other topics, there's often that distinction between the top down and bottom up. I always get that wrong. Bottom down wouldn't be good with it. Neither would top up.
Bottom down is the current situation.
Yeah, that would be great with it. The bottom down method. Actually, I could probably name quite a few of those. But you spoke the bottom up system, meaning that essentially the work is largely done in the body with substances, like alchemy or something like that, and then somatic experience, I suppose, building of energy, often lower dantian or lower center first at the beginning, and then building up towards connection with spirit, and whether that's, I have come to the conclusion is literally up. Actually, like there was a while I thought it was metaphorically up, but it is actually literally up, isn't it? Directions are a major part of this. And then you have the opposite, which is a top-down system, which is often based upon transforming of consciousness and allowing that to trickle down like a pachinko machine into the body to transform the physicality.
It's Buddhism versus Taoism.
With the exceptions of Tantric Buddhism and consciousness-based Taoism.
Yeah, the general
trend. The way we understand it. Yeah. So what do you think on the... I think they both have pros and cons. That's my view. I think there's positives and negatives. I don't agree with that view that both can't be done at the same time.
No, I think they can, definitely.
Yeah.
Or even need to be, almost.
Hey, man, you put them both together, what do you get? You get the... what's that hippie shape called? What's that called?
The Star of David, like that, or...?
Yeah, that hippie shape, the Star of David. It's got another name, it's that, but...
Pentagram?
It'll come back to me in a minute.
I don't know.
Anyway, that symbol of the two triangles coming together. I think they... I think they're a great adjunct. I think they can assist each other.
I think that's the best way for most people.
I think so. That's my personal way of working. I think often the bottom-up systems will say you can't do top-down because they misunderstand. And they think it means energy coming from above and energy coming from below as if they're going to counter each other out.
As you know, I've been a top-down person most of my practice life, life. But I'm integrating more and more bottom-up stuff, and I think you need to do both.
A Merkaba.
I've never heard that word.
That's because you're not in hippie circles.
It's because I don't live in
around Glastonbury, A Merkaba is two pyramids
It's a
interlocked
Star of
facing
David.
up. And it's a 3D Star of David for hippies.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, so I've worked top down mainly, as you know.
Yep.
And I would say from my experience, very few get anywhere.
From top down.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
I think it's a low success rate.
Because of the lack of tangible feedback from consciousness?
Like
or okay, yeah.
It's harder to grasp.
Yeah, okay.
And the lower things will screw you up.
Yeah. There's a lot more temptation in the
if you don't correct the
yeah,
lower stuff. And so there's that. But at the same time, I've done other body up work like Tai Chi and stuff like that.
Yes.
And, you know, more and more different methods. And I think both is the best. I would say if they couldn't be unified, which I think they could be,
yeah,
top down would achieve more enlightened masters.
Yeah.
Meaning, let's say 3 out of 100. It's not really that many, but I'm just giving
that's very hopeful for you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's more like 0.0000 if I had to say the real number. So, okay. So let's say 3 out of 100, they get it.
Yes.
And the other 97 out of 100 get nothing.
Yeah.
Bottom up, achieve less enlightened masters, 2 out of 100.
Yeah.
But 10 of them get quite a bit.
Yeah.
So it's something like that. Because you're building up, you get somewhere, maybe you don't make it.
Yes.
Top down, you don't get it, you don't get it, you don't get it, bang, you get it.
Yeah. So it's like going for broke if you do a top-down system.
I think it is, yeah.
But it's funny because I think more people do a top-down system. They might not use that term, but I think that shit, or at least in the Western world,
I think that they, I think that they don't really, but yes, I agree.
Yes.
They pretend they do the wrong version of a top-down system.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, definitely.
And
because all spirituality is like that.
And I spent more of my life in a bottom-up system.
Yeah.
And I would say that's definitely true. Even looking at my own path, there were, even quite early on, attainments that was like, okay, this is cool. This is physically good, control of this, that, and the other. But then, glass ceilinged. Yeah. And those glass ceilings can only be smashed through, I guess, using something from above, like top down. And
well, the other triangle piercing down, right?
The Merkaba.
The answer.
Which I've even heard is a vehicle for aliens under the pyramids or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. It gets really, really cosmic. So I'll send you a video.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. I usually say just burn the incense from both ends. You'll get done quicker.
One end's a stick. So
chop it off.
Okay, sure, yeah. I think that's true. And it's funny that I think people often have a leaning towards one or the other, isn't it? Like
natural inclination, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the inclination's wrong.
You should do the opposite of your inclination.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, but who does?
Well, I make them. Like if I have a room full of people, you always get the same. If you ever ask, which you should never do when you teach, but sometimes I make the mistake of saying, "What do you want to do? Do you want to do some seated practice or some standing work?" It's an even divide. Some people prefer yeah, totally. Some people, let's work with the energies, and other people want to work with trying to sort of penetrate through to the center of an object. I'm using sitting or standing as a metaphor. Obviously, you can do either one in either, but and I can always see those tendencies.
No, I agree, and I make them do the opposite of what they want to.
Yeah.
Against the grain.
Totally. Yeah, and I don't even know if it's because you can already do one. I think it's because you're just more comfortable trying to do one.
For me, I've always been more top mental kind of person, not a physical person.
Yes.
And and I've done a lot of the kung fu and everything made me more physical,
Sure.
I was always kind of, disassociated and off mentally. Okay.
Yes.
Not so embodied. So it was really healthy for me to do all the body stuff and the energy work. It works well for me, brings things down.
Sure. Yeah. And I guess the opposite for me. I was always quite ADHD, hyperactive.
Yeah,
still am.
So sit still, around.
Yeah, which was the instruction,
yeah.
Forcing me to do sitting work, which was seated work, and still work, which was really, really hard for me at the beginning. It was like it was a grind, but
it was the right medicine.
Yeah. Then eventually got to the stage where I would say my seated practice is not that bad actually. Still work is okay, but it was definitely not my inclination. I'd rather kick, punch, and smash my way through to divinity if I could, but it's
the problem. Another problem with top-down stuff is like Now, I don't think this is true, but generally people can't judge the meditation of another. I think you can. But most people,
Yeah.
they just take their word for it.
Yeah, sure.
It's
yeah.
whatever. Oh, this guy sounds wise.
I've
He
achieved
uses
Buddhahood.
nice words. Sorry?
I've achieved Buddhahood.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually think that there's stuff that radiates out of someone when they've achieved meditation, and it's undeniable.
Mm-hmm.
So there's substance.
We'll come back to that, but yeah, carry on.
So I mean, all I mean is one of the problems with the top-down is this difficulty in measuring,
Yeah.
even measuring who you're going to listen to.
Yeah. If they got a nice voice and a good outfit.
Well, that's most, right?
Most spiritual teachers?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I realized I'd never be a spiritual teacher. That's why I had to teach mechanics, because I don't have a nice enough voice. I realized I couldn't do it. I can't do the... If I try and fake it now, I can't do it. The leading you into the meditative state. I can't do it. Ding. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I can't do it. So you have to teach from a mechanical... Oh, hello. A mechanical perspective as much as I
Teach
can.
the methods, that's the stuff.
Trying to teach spiritual arts from a mechanical perspective is a difficult thing, but yeah.
But yeah, I think that's one of the problems, you know. He told me he's got good meditation. Until you've got enough experience and you know the truth's coming out of someone. Not that I think you need experience, it's obvious. But
It should be.
I guess maybe it isn't.
Right?
I mean, I don't mean for the great masters, I mean just somebody that's at jhana or whatever, that's got good meditation.
Yeah.
You can tell, it changes them forever.
And somebody that has that experience of jhana, even if it's not overbearing, I think sometimes when you're just in their presence for a length of time or in a space with them even, you feel it permeates into you, and it kind of it's disorientating and things like that. That's what I would expect. Whereas someone who's like a full master of whatever method, it's like...
then it's overwhelming.
It's like being in another worldly space, right? And it even generates chemical reactions in your body sometimes, right? And tastes and the smells, the what do you call it, the rose smell.
Yeah, there's the divine smells and tastes.
Which I can smell right now.
That's the trick, you just have all the flowers under your throat.
I'm identifying divine and I'm carrying frangipani. Is it?
Frangipani and something else.
Or something I said,
I don't know what that one is.
It does smell a bit like that, actually. Sometimes the divine.
Yeah.
But yeah, those kind of experiences I think are... I think they should be spoken about more, and I don't even think that means you shouldn't go to somebody else for meditation. I don't think there's any. If someone does a Wednesday night meditation,
maybe
class,
they're teaching a good method, and that's enough.
Yeah, completely. And I think I started like that. The first they told me you've got to learn to meditate because you're an arsehole. Right? Okay. So they said it better than that. So I went to learn to meditate, and it was literally a Wednesday night in my local community centre, and I didn't know what I was doing. Learning how to put my legs in the right place and how to breathe. It was vital. Yeah, it was vital. So, I don't ever want to come across as one of those people who says you shouldn't train with anyone unless they're a complete master.
I know. I mean, then there'll be not many people to train with.
Yeah, you train with who's useful to you at that time and things like that. But if you're really serious, then at some point those
that's if I said that, I'd have to scare all my students off and stop training with me, right?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, it's like that, isn't it? What are you going to do?
Yeah. But at the same time, you shouldn't fall for thinking someone is a complete divine master if it doesn't have that overbearing kind of quality around it, because as you know, that's been dangerous historically within some of the traditions. And that's people start giving up their power, which it's a controversial one or a difficult one, because I always tell students, don't give over your power. Don't give your power to me. Definitely not. That's the last thing I want. I shirk responsibility to the best of my ability, so I never want anybody's power handed over.
Absolutely, but if a divine master tells me what to do, I say yes.
That's what I mean. That's a contradiction. I've completely handed over my power, but the difference is I hope I'm not wrong, but I think I have the discernment in order to ascertain that this is the right person to do it to.
That's it.
But it feels like a lot of people are just trying to hand over the power to the postman if they can.
Who it is, they just want to hand it over so they don't feel bad about their life.
Yeah, completely. Personal responsibility shirk.
It's too much weight, get rid of it, right?
Oh, the amount of people I've been in, they come see this great master, and I go with them and it's like...
Nothing there.
I mean, they're sometimes all right. I would say maybe they're the level of that Wednesday night community center meditation teacher, and it's okay to go to them. But
Yeah.
I think my definition of master might be a little different.
It's a little higher than that.
Yeah. But I guess it's all comparative to what you've seen.
I mean, and the right thing at the right time and all that. It's okay.
Yeah.
But like you say, they should be talked about a little bit at least, so people know that there is something more than that. It's not just psychological.
Yeah.
There is something that's
That was
real.
that was that thing in the internal arts. I don't want to say who said it, but I do know who said it originally. But it's from do you remember the Fighting Arts magazine? Did you get that in Australia or Thailand or wherever you live in? No, maybe not. It was like was it English or American?
There were a bunch of magazines. I was never involved with that.
Yeah, Fighting Arts was like in the 80s and 90s, the magazine, pre-internet, when things were still interesting to hunt out rather than you could go on some Facebook forum and see 50 dickheads arguing about it. But you get the magazine with articles, and it was quite exciting every month. Who's written this? And it had Chinese artists, Japanese artists. And there was one in there who's still quite famous these days who said, it's not possible to prove anything within the internal arts because it's all inside. That statement, honestly, it's stuck around for ages. And I remember reading it, probably a young teenager going, well, that's bullshit. That's bollocks. That means I could just take the guy sat next to me on the bus and go, he could say, well, I'm internal master, but you can't see it's all inside. But that phrase hung around, and I didn't think it would, but I saw it repeated.
That's a really dark, because it's a doorway for abuse.
It's darker than my take on it, but I agree.
Well, it means you can totally lie.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I'm well hated, of which there are many reasons, one is that early on...
I don't know if you're hated. I think it's a secret, unrequited love that they're struggling with.
Universal love.
They're struggling with. They're struggling with it. They can't deal with these feelings, so it comes up as self-loathing.
It's the pink shirt.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So early on in the sort of interaction online,
yes,
I said something like if you can't fajin,
yes,
you don't, you can't mobilize the chi. You're not doing the internal.
I remember you writing that. Yes.
And fajin's not a big deal. But it's a measurement to mean you can mobilize chi. Yeah. You can do internal.
Yes.
So I was like drawing a line in a way. Maybe that wasn't very wise.
It wasn't very subtle.
No, I'm not the subtlest guy.
I think
so. But this is the opposite of you can't show anything, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's the opposite of that. You must be able to show.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Show me.
I think the only reason you come across as unsubtle is sometimes you use 10 words, whereas I'll say the same thing, but I'll say 100 words.
Yeah, people like all the body around it and everything.
Yeah, and I'll try to head off all of the upsets people will get before you get to the statement. Yeah, it is the opposite. I guess I didn't really see that it's open to abuse. I suppose that's true, isn't it? It could be a path to that, certainly, especially with regards to mental, Buddha qualities and things. My take on it more was it just suited people.
Of course it suits
well,
them, because they don't have any.
Exactly, it's like, oh, yes, you're right, they can't see my skill.
That is abuse.
More skillful than I thought.
I don't always mean abusing another person. It's still abuse of truth.
Okay, sure.
It's not right.
Yeah, sure, yeah. But it does lead to abuse of people as well, right?
It does, yeah.
I have quite a lot of students who, people who've, I don't even agree. I don't even believe anyone ever has students. I think you just have people who come to learn off you for a while. That's it, and
it's just
whatever.
Semantics. Yeah.
It's semantics, but I think that words almost become a bit loaded these days, a little bit like you own them or something. But I think people come in now and chatting with students about their experiences. There's a lot of them that have, quite a number of them, been to people because that person has told them that they had some ability that was never demonstrated,
right.
or told them that they were connected to Buddha, or.
Right.
One person that actually trained under someone who said there was a second coming of Christ, for example, and they believe them because it's all internal. Now, I would assume...
They believe them because they said it.
Yes. Well, because they have trust.
Yeah, but they didn't show anything, so they just said it.
Well, that's what I mean. If someone is the second coming of Christ...
He wouldn't lie.
I would also expect to be slightly disorientated by that meeting.
My expectations would be kind of high.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. The second coming of Christ, and I didn't notice him as he walked past you. Yeah, there is a lot of that's gone on, and I mean, there's even books and videos written by, not only people saying they've achieved Buddhahood, but talking about how they've helped other people achieve Buddhahood.
Yeah. Well, it's a joke.
Yeah, is it deliberate ignorance or is it an accidental misunderstanding?
I don't know.
No, I don't know either. I like to think it's an accidental misunderstanding.
I don't pretend to understand their reasoning,
No.
not even slightly. Not understanding the reasons why others think and act how they do is my primary experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
My take on my skill level is still a dickhead, but less of a dickhead than yesterday. That's kind of that's how I see myself, and it's a long way before claiming to be Buddha. But if I ever can levitate and shoot fire and water out of my pores, I'll demonstrate it. Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. So I tell everybody now, if ever you're unsure if I'm a Buddha or not,
Just wait.
Wait, I'll get there. Hold my beer. I'll do the demonstration. Yeah, totally. Yeah, film it or it didn't happen. I hate that phrase. But yeah, like, it's crappy, isn't it? That all those things I read that greatly inspired me as a youth, all of the stories about the mortals and the saints and the people who just casually jumped over a building or whatever like that, all reduced to psychology or...
Well, luckily we know that that's not the case. But for most people it is.
I didn't know that for a long time, so I was operating on faith.
Yeah.
And then to have that faith replaced...
Well, the faith was there,
knowledge,
and that's why you end up knowing it.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, thank God. Thank God it's real. Yeah. Thank God all this stuff is real.
Oh, yeah. Literally.
What else would you... Yeah, thank God. But what else would you do? Like,
what else do you do in life? Yeah, I don't know.
What would you do if you didn't do cultivation arts?
It's probably not an answer I should put on the internet.
You can't be incriminated for something you're not doing, but yeah. I'd own a bar. I think I'll be a bar owner, so it's probably better I do this.
You can own a bar and do cultivation.
Yeah, but then the occasional cocktail becomes 10 a day, or
a distant bar owner.
Distant bar owner, yeah, from a distance.
Silent investor.
Yeah, totally, something like that. Yeah, I don't know what you do. It's like when people ask why you train. I don't.
Why do you play golf?
Yeah, exactly. And, I don't know what else I would do, really. I wouldn't be satisfied with anything else. I'm not satisfied with this.
No.
Which is a part of it. It's like a hunger,
Yeah. But I mean, practice is, fun. I don't know, but that's the word I would use.
Something just swam across there. Okay. Yeah.
Something like fun.
Yes.
It makes you want to go back to do it again the next day.
Is that what fun is?
I don't know. That's why I said this. I don't know. I don't know.
So I'm gonna draw this to a conclusion with a question on a word I've heard you use in our conversations, and it took me a while to actually get what you meant by it. Was you talk about grace, and grace, not the quality of like graceful or something, but I guess graceful, full of grace, but
Divine
like
grace.
An actual attainment, an actual, I don't want to say experience because that belittles it a bit. Do you know what I mean? But what would you call it? Like maybe you could describe what you mean to be by grace. What is grace? What is grace?
Why are you grace?
Yes.
Grace. Okay. The way I think about it is something like you train and you practice and you cultivate and you purify your character and you walk the path of reversal to the best of your ability as a crappy little human being.
Mm-hmm.
And you're pushing up towards the divine.
Okay.
Failingly. And you stoically, with stoic effort. Effort enough to move the divine.
Right. Okay, yeah.
And then they're like, okay, bang.
Mm.
And they shower grace upon you. And you become awakened, you transform, you realize the divine, you embody the divine. The Holy Spirit, the Shakti, grace.
So it's almost like your practice is preparing you and also...
It's preparing you and driving up
yourself.
towards.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I think it's that. And maybe there's other ways to get it, like through pure love, like the bhaktis. I don't know.
Yeah.
But in terms of a cultivator, cultivation meaning doing like inner work and stuff, and
Yeah.
I think it's that.
Right,
That's how
okay.
it works. And when the grace comes, then you are one of the immortals, the Buddhas, or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
So it's not a very common thing, I would
Extremely rare. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe it's akin to, how it's explained to me that you turn your body into a temple that is attractive enough for spirit to come and reside within.
I'd say that's exactly the same meaning. Yeah, maybe a little more poetic than my version.
I don't know, Grace.
But yeah.
Sure.
I mean, the thing I don't like about the temple idea is like it's just pure or something.
Sure, okay.
It's not just purity, right? It's not enough.
Sure.
It's all those.
Some temples are shitty. You've been to Monkey Palace?
You want an awesome temple that reaches right up, right?
Sure, yeah.
So yeah, I think grace is the result of the path.
Okay, sure, yeah.
If you make it.
That kind of it sums up really where we started, was what is cultivation. So some people really, taking something like Tai Chi, it's easier to use as an example than Qigong perhaps. Some people would focus on Tai Chi being the best way to defeat 100 opponents within a ring. But it's also possible to use Tai Chi as a way to...
It's to drive up towards grace,
grace,
hopefully, yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, I would have quit long ago, honestly, long ago.
Yes.
It's all of the different methods are for that one purpose, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good point to conclude it on.
Cool.
Well, I hope you achieve grace.
Likewise, maybe we achieve it together.
Maybe I'm too much of a schmuck, but I'm enjoying the process on the way there. Thanks very much. I think we should... I think we should chill out now.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.